Hey rockers, welcome back, man, and hope you guys are having a good start to the week. It's about 4 a.m. here in Southern Oregon. Most people are in bed, right, or maybe working third shift, but here I am working third shift. Hey man, tonight we're going back to the year 1983 to talk about a guy that we've been hearing a lot about lately, and I had forgotten about this particular show that I attended March 16th, 1983 at the Peoria Civic Center the Peoria Civic Center in Illinois, the arena. Ozzy Osbourne with Vandenberg, right? Remember those guys? I barely do. But yeah, Vandenberg, they were like a one-hit wonder kind of band. They had some other minor hits besides the song Burning Heart. But before I get into the Ozzy tale, thanks to my sponsor out in New York State, C&J Window Cleaning and Power Washing. You can find them on Facebook, C&J Window Cleaning and Power Washing. Please give them a like if you would. They're serving select parts of New York State, including Shirley, Dix Hills, Suffolk County, Manhattan, Nassau Park, Deer Park, and more. So these guys pride themselves on being the very best window cleaners and power washers in the business in the New York State area. You can give them a call at 631-310-9858. C&J Window Cleaning and Power Washing. Hey man, thank you guys, and thank you to Big Al in New York, Long Island, for setting that up. Thanks for being my sponsor. Going back to 83, man, remember the Satanic Panic of the 80s? Remember all the really conservative Christians that would stand outside all the mostly metal shows and every Ozzy show and hand out the pamphlets, and some of them would carry crosses, and they were just very fanatical about, trying to save us teenagers from the demonic influence that Ozzy and like Judas Priest and Iron Maiden were bringing. This was going on during those days, man, and there's a lot to be said. I remember going to the show thinking, oh my gosh, I got to deal with this. While I got to say, I'm not condoning this, and I'm just telling the truth. This is, 42 years ago? So I'm just talking about something that happened. But I was under the influence of something called Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I was tripping, man. I was 17 years old. That was my birthday. Which is, by the way, 31666. Yep, that's the truth. March 16th, 1966. And coincidentally, at that show, there was like 6,600 fans when I did my research. 6,600 people showed up to see Ozzy and Vandenberg. And of course, the entire Christian coalition, the Satanic Panic people that were targeting all the metal shows, they were out there, accusing Ozzy of Satanism and whatnot. And, we took the pamphlets and we just read them and laugh. And when you're tripping, it's a real weird deal, because these people are like, they're trying to save you from a cult, yet they're a cult. But I digress. The tour that I saw with Ozzy was the Speak of the Devil tour that ran December of 1982 through May of 1983. It was Ozzy's third solo tour, right? It was supporting the Speak of the Devil. It was a double live album released November 27th, 82. The album primarily featured Black Sabbath tunes with Brad Gillis of Night Ranger fame on guitar. And this tour had 4 different lineups from freaking December of 82 through May of 83. That they had the UK lineup, the European lineup, the North America lineup, the lineup that was on the album Speak of the Devil, and oh yeah, the final stop on the tour, the US Festival. Wow, what a great way to end a tour, right? That was a huge concert, obviously. And but Ozzy had different personnel for all those shows, although Tommy Aldridge did play drums for all of them, and Jake Lee played most of the gigs on guitar as well. So that was something that was pretty normal. Rudy Sarzo only played on one leg of that tour, and it wasn't the one I saw. It wasn't this one. So anyway, after I did my research, I got a goddamn headache. I was like, oh my God, who played with Ozzy in 83? And I kept getting all these different answers. Finally, a chart popped up. It said, here's what happened. And I'm like, wow, that's a lot of lineup changes. It makes you wonder what was really going on behind the scenes in the Ozzy camp to make that, I don't know, to have that kind of turnover, you know? Was it Ozzy's drinking? Was it Sharon? Was it just, I don't know, man. It makes you wonder, though, right? And it makes you wonder. Hey, man, take the time to subscribe to my channel. Give it a like and a comment if you would like. Man, I tell you what, though, this show was great. Really great. As I said, it was my birthday. I turned 17 years old that year. And, yeah, and basically I was tripping. I remember wearing some of my white leather pants that I used to wear in the band Emerald when I fronted that band about a year later, a metal band called Emerald. 2 years later, actually. But anyway, I digress, man. So I'm trying to tell you what I do remember. By the way, rest in peace to Butch Branson from Emerald. Something cool happened before the show on my birthday. That day, my grandmother, who was just a saint, she shows up at my house and brings me a birthday cake, right? She was like one of those expert birthday cake makers, right? Can make any kind of cake. She came with the cake, and I'm not kidding. I had photos, but they're all, yeah, I lost them in these fires in 2020. This cake looked exactly like the Speak of the Devil album cover. I'm talking to a T. There was a big old photo of Ozzy, and with the fangs, I believe, and his long hair, and it had him shirtless with his tattoos, and even the big blue demon tattoo was in blue frosting. There were plastic bats that were like on toothpicks on one end kind of thing. They stick in the cake. So my grandma had all these plastic bats on there, and this was the replica of the Speak of the Devil album cake form. And I wish I had those goddamn photos, but that was a great cake, man. That was a good tasting cake. And then I ended up going out with my friends to see Ozzy, of course. What else was I going to tell you guys about, man? Told you about the cake. I told you about who was in the band. No, I didn't. The night that I saw Ozzy, it was Ozzy on vocals, Jakey Lee on guitar, Don Costa on bass, Tommy Aldridge, the legend, on drums, and Don Airey on the keyboards. So yeah, that was a pretty damn good lineup, I will say. Getting into the show, Vandenberg was the opening act, of course, if you remember those guys. Adrian Vandenberg, killer guitar player, man, just very talented, excellent stuff. Those guys were from Amsterdam and Los Angeles, respectively. They formed in 1981. The big first hit was Burnin' Heart, which, if you remember, it was getting heavy rotation on MTV back in the 80s. Look it up on YouTube, Vandenberg, Burnin' Heart, and if you don't remember it, you soon will. I played it on my radio show last Sunday, actually. It's a good tune, man. It's more of a ballad kind of thing. It's the perfect band to open for Ozzy because you want to kind of have a band that's not exactly like your genre, and picking more of a ballady, lighter, but yet still a hard rock band to open for Ozzy was a good choice because while I liked them, I didn't love them, but I liked them. They were good. Watching him play guitar was kick-ass. Burnin' Heart, that song was stuck in my brain from MTV. I was addicted to that damn channel for a few years. And so it was cool seeing that live, of course. They were just a great rock and roll band. They did tunes like Ready for You, Lost in a City, Back on My Feet. They did Your Love is in Vain. And then Burning Heart got everybody clapping and singing along because that was the big hit, right? And it had just come out not too long before that. So the big deal, though, is when the lights went down and they had like a little the lights came up after Vandenberg. I don't have much else to say about Vandenberg, by the way. I don't remember a lot about seeing the band except that I liked them. I thought they were cool, but a little too ballady for me. But yet they did have that hard rock edge that made them a good fit for Ozzy's opening act. But yeah, shout out to Adrian Vandenberg. He's still going today. Just a really kick-ass, underrated guitar player. Ozzy, man, the lights came up. There was an intermission. I was tripping balls by then. I'm not going to lie to you. And we were just so excited. I don't remember who the hell I went with, but I do have a few key memories from this show. And I got the exact set list online. So I got that for you right here, my friends. Ozzy came out. The Diary of a Madman intro played. So it was immediately like lights out. Then all the spooky red lights and whatnot were coming on, and you could hear the intro for Diary of a Madman. It was super cool. Ozzy came out with like short brown hair with blonde. It was like mixed blonde and brown. It's the only time I've ever seen that sort of hair color with Ozzy. It was like brown hair, but it had like blonde speckles. I remember because I was tripping and I remember a lot of details like that. But he also, it was kind of shortish hair. Yeah, it was kind of growing out a little bit, but it wasn't real long. He had a lot of heavy eye makeup on. I remember that. And I kept perceiving that he might be buzzed. I think, man, Ozzy's in a really good mood, and either he's sober as hell or he's really high on something, but he seemed like he was especially happy. Gotta say, the man was a professional. His vocals were absolutely on point. I had seen him in 1980, and I've seen him about 8 times. So there's other stories on this channel about Ozzy, some good ones too, if you look them up. They came out and did I Don't Know from the Blizzard of Oz album. Immediately, Ozzy's working the stage, going back and forth. Let's see your hands. And I Don't Know was just angelic. You know, Don Airey on the keyboards, which is one of my favorite instruments. It was just killer. Mr. Crowley, though, speaking of keyboards, Mr. Crowley was second. It was just phenomenal. And just watching these guys play that, and they did it just spot on. Jakey Lee, can't say enough good stuff about that guy. He's like really one of the best guitar players Ozzy's ever had, in my opinion. I love Randy Rhoads, of course, and Zakk Wylde. Big fans, actually. But Jakey Lee, man, holds a special place in my heart. He's a badass guitar player, man. He really is. But they come out and do Mr. Crowley, and he got everybody. He was howling at the beginning. He's like, ow, ow, like running back and forth. And I'm like, yeah, he might be a little bit buzzed. But that's good. He was having fun, right? The third song, Crazy Train, which had gotten so much heavy radio play, by then it was already a huge hit, and today it's still a huge hit. Everybody knows Crazy Train. The band was cooking. It was just badass. Suicide Solution, one of my favorites from Blizzard of Oz. Just watching Tommy Aldridge on the drums on that, man, and just Ozzy was hitting the notes because, you know, I was really tuned in and my perception levels were up, 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 and I was like, man, Ozzy's really killing it on the voice. Got to give it to the guy. No one really has a voice like him. I mean, he really has a voice that's hard to sing, because I've been in cover bands, and you do Ozzy, it's really hard to do it justice, man. You got to really be a pretty decent singer to do Ozzy. Guitar solo was next. Jakey Lee, I remember him blowing my mind because the guy just shreds. The band Badlands he was in and stuff too, or whatever, and I'm not sure exactly what he's doing right now, but then he was killer. And there's a video on this channel about me getting high smoking weed with Jakey Lee. It's a pretty cool story, and it's under the video section on this channel. After the guitar solo that was so badass, Revelation, Mother Earth, which is probably, arguably, one of my favorite songs from the Diary of a Madman album. Probably the best song on the album, in my opinion. But Don Airey, the wizard on keyboards during Revelation, Mother Earth, was like, it was like an orgasm to my ears. It was so freaking good, man. I remember that was just like, Mother, please forgive me. It was just so ethereal. And I remember getting goosebumps as I am right now, because there's just some things you never forget, man. Jakey Lee was out there shredding, man. He had his really long, thick, curly-ass hair and his fingerless black glove, and he had his earrings and his big, heavy eye makeup like Ozzy. Well, not as heavy as Ozzy's. Ozzy looked like he'd been up for like a 3-day bender with this lots of black makeup. He looked cool, man. He looked scary. His eyes kept, you know, doing the wide-eyed thing, too, like really wide eyes, you know. He did Steal Away the Night, which is another badass tune from Blizzard of Oz. After that, Tommy Aldridge did a badass drum solo. You know, anybody can do a drum solo, but it's really hard to get a really good drum solo. But let me tell you, man, Tommy Aldridge, who has been in so many bands like Black Oak, Arkansas, and White Snake, and I think I actually made a list of the freaking bands that guy's been in, man. Pat Travers Band, Thin Lizzy, Ted Nugent, Yngwie Malmsteen. He's been in so many bands, it's just pathetic. But he's a badass drummer, and he's worthy of mentioning. The drum solo is memorable. Yep. Especially with the Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Don't do this at home, kids. Believer. Great song. Really great bass line in that song. And Don Costa didn't let us down. Just don't. Just such a good intro, very memorable. Ozzy prowling the stage, looking all sinister. It was great. But you know, for a guy that's, you know, getting called a Satanist, it's awfully funny how many times during the show he'd be like waving his arms and he'd get up to the mic and say, God bless you all. You know, it's awfully funny how he said that a lot during the night. You know, Ozzy very energetic on stage. God bless you all. Take that, you bastards with your pamphlets picketing outside. I don't get it, man. Then they did Flying High Again, which was a huge radio hit. Everyone was singing along in the whole Civic Center. The Midwest has always had the best rock and roll crowds, and Ozzy fans were just rampant there in that area, you know. And of course, I'm one of them. Yeah, rest in peace, Ozzy, man. But Believer was badass. Flying High Again was killer. Then they did a Black Sabbath tune, man. Fairies Wear Boots. And it was interesting to see Jakey Lee putting his spin on that Tony Iommi classic. And he did it justice for sure. There's nothing like the original, but Jakey Lee kicked some ass doing Fairies Wear Boots. And hearing Ozzy sing, it's always surreal because, you know, takes you back to the old days. You know what I mean? When you're smoking bongs back in the 70s and 80s and just jacking up your black lights and strobe lights. And remember that, man? Blacklight posters. What a great culture that was back then, man. They did War Pigs, which is one of my favorite tunes by them. Way overplayed on the radio, but still is a classic. They did that. Into Iron Man. And then, of course, into Children of the Grave. There was an encore. Ozzy and the boys left the stage, and everyone, you know, we knew he was going to come back. There's no way. The energy in that place was crazy. So I don't know how long it was, maybe 5 minutes, maybe a little longer, but we kept thinking, what's going on? Finally, when Ozzy did come back out, they did one more song, and yep, it was another Black Sabbath classic. Guess which one it was? 10 seconds. Just kidding. Paranoid, man. Yeah, they closed with Paranoid. The guys were just shredding. Again, Jakey Lee putting his spin on things. The way he played that song was just so ripping, man. I actually got on the internet tonight and actually did some research, checking out him playing some Sabbath songs just for the hell of it. And it reminded me of those days and seeing that show. And again, it was a killer show. But guess what happened when the show was over? Well, I had to walk outside, and guess what I encountered? More people with the same pamphlets. I'm like, I already got one on the way in. Thank you. But yeah, they were relentless, man. These people would stand on corners in like groups of 10, you know, on every side of the Civic Center. They'd get you, and any door you're going to, you're getting a pamphlet. And it's like, you're going to hell if you go to this show. And I remember back in the day, there was one Ozzy show that, I don't remember which show. Maybe it might have been this show. It could have been the show I'm talking about. But the great psychic, Greta Alexander, told people not to go to the show, and he was in the newspaper because the roof was going to collapse and all this evil energy was going to happen. And I couldn't believe it because I had gone to Greta and talked to her several times, the psychic, and she told me some pretty trippy stuff, man. And she led me to Dee, who read my, fingerprints, and that's another video on this channel about the psychics and stuff like that I was working with and my family, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, when I got outside, I saw those people, got my pamphlet, went home and probably put on some records and sat around, smoked bongs, and chilled out and stole the night away, like Ozzy would say. Hey, thanks for subscribing, man. Thanks for being here at the channel. I really appreciate you guys, and I got some big news coming up in the next month. I can't wait to bring it to you guys. Until then, my lips are sealed. I hate to be a tease, but yeah, I got something pretty cool that's happening in about a month. I can't wait to break the news to you guys. I also plan on doing a live stream soon. I haven't done that in months. So I'm thinking coming up maybe during the week this week, sometime next week for an hour, I'll find a reason to do a live stream, and then I'll let you guys know. Hey, man, thanks for being here. Take it easy. Have a great week. Rock on.